Welcome, everyone, to the Kia Knicks postgame show as the Knicks start the second half, giving up a season-high point total, losing 134 to 101 tonight to the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo to Brook Lopez, who had 10 points, 10 of his 14 in the first quarter. Antetokounmpo, 11 in a pivotal second quarter, finished with 24, 10, and 10. A triple-double for him, and Milwaukee beats the Knicks. Great to have you with us from our Delta MSG studios. Monica McNutt is with us. She is our MSG PM co-host. And just so you know, this never happens when Alan and Wally are here.
That's really how you start the show when I'm visiting. It is. I have nothing to do with it.
You didn't know that was coming.
Let's go, Pito. Come on, focus. Here we go. Let's spin it.
Of course, I'm just kidding around. But, we were watching the game, and you pointed out that the second quarter, the Knicks are down 48-44, and then the Bucks outscored them 20-7.
Yeah, that was about 5 minutes ago in the second quarter, and that run kind of gave you the synopsis of the game. It was a 17-point lead at halftime, and it only gets worse from there. But, it's interesting. Julius Randle obviously is coming off of his all-star performance, all-star nod this year. I actually read a piece that he wrote in the Players Tribune, and he talked about the responsibility that comes with being the number one guy. I am not going to put this entire game on him, although his season low is worth noting. But I think the secondary play, right? Like, the game plan for the Bucks was very clearly not to allow Julius to boogie in the paint the way that he likes to do. And so now there has to be a next step from everybody. To me, even when Julius went to make the passes, the Bucks defense was sitting there lurking. So the entire offense tonight, to me, was a bit too stagnant. So, of course, you dig into the tape, you figure out where you can grow, how you can improve, and you move forward.
All right, let's take a closer look now, Monica, at Milwaukee's defense on Randle. You mentioned 7 points for him, a season low. His previous season low before tonight was 11.
Yeah, and they just did a great job of swarming him. Very rarely did he have to go one-on-one. And when he did, it was oftentimes Giannis Antetokounmpo who used his length and posed all types of problems. That play there by Thanasis, to me, is just a knucklehead play getting in the way. And then that was an example of exactly what I was talking about. That was a good pass on Julius's part, except the Bucks defense was sitting there lurking. And so then again, you see the help, Augustine collapsing there. So, right, it was a frustrating night for him, rightfully so.
All right, only 3 of 12 from the floor, 8 rebounds. He did fill up the box score with the 8 boards and the 6 assists, but the 7 points and also the 5 turnovers, obviously a big problem tonight for the Knicks. Now, you go up against Milwaukee. They got the All-Star, obviously, MVP. The Knicks All-Star didn't play well. The Bucks All-Star had a triple-double.
And that's the other part of this conversation. We know that for the Bucks this year, all right, you went and got your point guard, you paid your man, it's go time. And when do you essentially see teams start to take it up a next level? It is post-All-Star break. And so I think Giannis came out focused, understanding the task at hand. And then we can't forget, that the Knicks did hand this team their backside earlier in the year. So it was a little bit of payback on the mind, I think.
Third game of the year, Knicks beat by 20.
Yeah, I definitely think that a competitor like Giannis, Chris Middleton, all those guys, you don't forget something like that. And you want to set the tone early as we're coming back into the second half of the season for sure.
All right, so they did a good job on Randle. There's another example. Antetokounmpo, All-Star against All-Star. And Antetokounmpo had the key second quarter point total of 11 when the Bucks were able to extend that 4-point lead to a halftime advantage of 17. There were some positive points for the Knicks. R.J. Barrett went over 20. He's got 16 20-point games this year, only had 13 last year. And Alec Burks, who had 18 in the first meeting between these two and sprained his ankle in that game and then missed a chunk of time, he also played pretty well.
Yeah, I like the versatility that you get from Alec Burks tonight. I like the aggressiveness overall, right? Somebody needed to find some offense, and you were able to get that early on out of Burks. I liked his variety of shots. I liked him being able to knock down the 3, and then the spots that he did take when he got in the paint.
All right, Mike Breen and Clyde Frazier, as always, had the call. Oh, look at the camera move over there, huh? Mike, I told Wally and Alan they better hurry back or else Monica may be here on a permanent basis. I don't know what your thought is on that, but...
Well, you just hate where the camera goes away from you, Bill. Well, obviously, as you guys were talking about, not the way you wanted the second half. Got to give a lot of the credit. Milwaukee played a great game. They are a team that is certainly, Clyde, a team that's got a chance to win a title this year. They have to prove it that they can do it in the playoffs, but they've been so dominant in the regular season. And, they bring up the Julius Randle situation. Now, it's clear that Milwaukee's game plan tonight was to stop Julius Randle. Every time he had the ball, the second defender was always there. He's going to see that in the second half as it goes on, because really it has been, Clyde, that as Julius Randle goes, that's how the Knicks go.
Yeah, at the top of the show, Mike, we discussed that. So you asked me, what does the Knicks have to do? Randall has to continue to be that guy, the catalyst for the team. I mentioned RJ's got to be more consistent, step up. He stepped up big time tonight. Defense, folks. No D, no W for these Knicks. It's just that simple. If they don't play defense, they're going to have games like this every night. By playing aggressive defense, they can be very competitive and compete. So they've got to ramp up their defense. I didn't like the effort tonight on the defensive end.
You know, the defensive rating is second in the NBA. That's going to take a hit tonight the way they played. Again, some of the credit, or a lot of the credit, has to go to Milwaukee. What we've seen from this team, though, all season long is there have been an occasional game where they just didn't have it. And that happens to every team. That happens to the elite teams. That happens to the middle teams. That happens to the bad teams a little more often than most. But for the Knicks, they've had a few of those where you can say they laid an egg. What's been impressive about them is, in most cases, the way they bounce back. So Saturday is going to be quite interesting to see how they bounce back against an Oklahoma City team that gave them a beating at the Garden earlier this season.
Yeah, I definitely think this was an aberration, not a revelation. So the Knicks have shown grit all season. I mean, the same cast is there. Hopefully Rose can come back. Obviously, I think they are missing him, a guy that can put constant pressure on the defense, getting to the hoop. So OKC is going to be a very difficult game, though, because will the Knicks be playing up or down to the competition? So these guys have been very competitive at home, so the Knicks are going to have to step up their game and try to come away with a victory. Doesn't get any easier, but the old saying, Mike, when the going gets tough, tough get going.
And this has been a tough team, a Knicks team all season long. You mentioned the Rose situation. Now remember, Derrick Rose came. They're 7-3 since Rose has arrived. They're 3-0 with him as a starter. And you look at some of the numbers when Rose has played with Barrett and with Randall. Now, most of his minutes, or a lot of them, certainly have been with the bench unit. But when he's played with those two, their numbers in terms of efficiency have gone way up. The Rose addition, I think, has been even more in some cases than I think the Knicks even hoped, and they need him back soon, especially against the elite teams.
Yeah, because like I alluded to, the constant pressure, he's always going north and south, and he's improved his three ball. He can shoot off the dribble. He creates a lot of havoc going to the free throw line. So a lot of versatility they are missing when Rose is not in the game.